The Nephilim sightings are going to start soon.
Consciousness has been enslaved.
Your consciousness does not need your physical body to survive.
It's the thing that's necessary. It has to be there. It's the coding that projects this world we currently live in.
He said, I want you to read the Bible.
We got reptilians on just outside of our frequency zone.
Six-dimensional beings, the ancient builder race.
Ideas are the highest form of intelligence, and that leads you to truth and clarity.
The Nephilim sightings are going to start soon.
Conspiracy and chill.
If obviously aliens, our galaxy is insanely huge. We're just one planet.
They would have needed a minimum of 6 feet of lead shielding in order to get through the 25,000-mile thick Van Allen radiation belt.
This is real. They really did fake the moon landing.
The world is infinitely older than that. And I mean the world with human beings in it.
Skull and Bones is like one of the villains in the Legion of Doom.
He said, I want you to read the Bible.
The biblical flood, the Tartaria mud flood.
Conspiracy and chill.
The Nephilim sightings are going to start soon.
The bull god ball.
He said, I want you to read the Bible.
There's magnets in the basketballs.
There was a political party, a third party called the Anti-Masonic Party at a point in the United States.
The Global Pandemic Treaty.
Conspiracy and Chill podcast.
We have our guest for today, Trez Mala. We are going to be talking all types of things. He's a stand-up comedian, ring announcer, tour guide, fellow longtime conspiracy theorist. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to talk to like-minded folks.
Always.
Yeah.
For those who aren't familiar with you, we're kind of getting to know you right here, right now, too. What got you into either announcing or stand-up or, like you said off air, talking into a microphone?
It's kind of weird. For some reason, I was somehow never afraid to talk in front of crowds, in front of people. I do know the kind of the origins of where that happened. My grandfather was a deputy probation officer, so he worked in the camps with the boys, before prison, but they couldn't be. They're in that in between 16, 17, going into adult stuff. So they had these camps, and my grandfather was a director, and so every Thanksgiving we would go up. When I was a kid, little guy, we would go up to the camp. We'd spend Thanksgiving together up there, eat with all the people, all the, the convicts, I guess. And he would always go up on stage and do this big talk. And my grandpa was a, juvenile delinquent himself. And so he really felt like he was helping out the kids and he was on the level. So they had a ton of respect for him, And he would take me up on stage and he was, talking. And one year, he was like making fun of me when I was on stage and he was getting laughs. And I just remember going, he gave me the microphone. He goes, what do you think, Spike? That was my name as a kid. He'd call me Spike, And I just go, don't listen to him. This is my bald-headed grandpa. And the whole place, it's probably like 500 guys just roared, all in unison. And I looked at that and I was like, I don't know what just happened, but I'm hooked. So I've never had a problem talking in front of a crowd after that. Cause I knew I don't know, something magic happened right there for me, And then, I was influenced by a few other people as far as comedy, but I didn't look at it as comedy. I looked at it as a way of communicating, I looked at it as a way of this is how you have to talk. This is how you have to express yourself, the facial expressions or whatever. And it was comedians that I looked at, And so my whole life, I've always had people be like, oh, you're a comedian. Or, oh, you should be a comedian. Or usually if I'm getting in trouble, it's, oh, we got a comedian over here, that kind of thing. So after hearing that so many times, a guy came up to me one time. He's like, dude, I'm going to an open mic. I was working. I was 21 or 20. And he goes, I'm going to an open mic. He goes, you should come with me. And I go, what's that? And he goes, it's where comedians get started. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, they got a bar. They got a microphone. Usually there's people there. You get to tell jokes and you kind of figure it out. I go, you don't have to have an agent. You go, you got to build up to that, stupid. I was like, I had no idea about anything. So I went up and just, bombed until it started working. Here we are over 20 years of still telling jokes. I'm like a sewing machine. The needle's going up and down, but nothing's happening. So I like doing it. But that led me into the truth, comedy. There's truth in comedy, and the thing about comedy is like I can't get into comedy that has like false information or like here's the thing that turned me off, and I used to really like Bill Burr, but during the whole shutdown, he was just like pro mask and pro all this stuff, and I was like, bro, you read. Like you are an intellectual, you are a smart dude. You know how to scan the room, and I go, and you're buying this bullshit. Checked out. You know what I mean? Like I can't follow anybody or anything or pay attention to it if it's not based in reality, if it's not like the real thing. You know what I mean? If it's not fact. So it's like mainstream comedy for me was like really rough because I'm watching people just recite shit from the news, and I'm like, that's all bullshit. Like, but then they get laughs and they move up, because they're playing in that game. And, I notice one thing that like I go in these rooms and I do really well as far as comedy, but I don't get booked or rebooked unless I'm like with a certain comedian or crowd or something like that. But, I do notice that like all the people that get booked in these clubs, their social media, they don't say shit. They don't say anything. Pardon me, I'm allowed to cuss, right?
Oh, please, yeah.
Probably done. I've probably done it like a million times already, and now I'm worried about this one. But they don't say anything. They don't have their that or their like total, milk toast about it. And it's funny is when people meet me, they're like, "Oh, dude, you're a lot more chill than your social media." I go, "What do you mean? My social media is fine, dude. It's chill. Like, just put down facts, I am a little bit more harsh on the like the Democrats, but I'm a political atheist. What I mean, I grew up in my house. There was a Republican and a Democrat, and they're both like, "You vote for whoever lowers your taxes." Then I had people I was mentored by coming up, and they're like, "What do you want? The mumps or the measles when it comes to politics?" So that's always been my take on it.
Can I ask you a question?
And, yeah, far away.
I've always fancied myself a big stand-up comedy fan too. In 7th grade, I watched George Carlin's Live in New York stand-up. It was 1993, and boy, was I hooked. So my question to you is, Carlin seems like a guy that was way ahead of his time too, right? You could watch his shit from the 90s, and it's exactly what's going on now. And you mentioned some of your comedian idols, and I was wondering who were some of your comedian idols when you were younger, kind of growing up?
For stand-up comedy, right off the bat, Richard Jeni. Richard Jeni.
Yeah.
Yeah, he that's how I thought you had to talk. That's how I thought you had to like speak and present yourself, do act outs and stuff. I really thought the world of that guy. It's really sad how he ended. But other stand-ups, I heard one of the very first comedy. My grandpa had tapes, but was Red Fox, and it was in Vegas. And it was, all I remember was he was a motherfucker, just dropping, just cussing, calling a chick a bitch and a cunt and da-da-da, and people were laughing. And I'm like, you can say that and not get in trouble. I'm like, listen to this. So that like opened my mind up. But I like Bill Hicks when I was a kid, and I just liked him because he was angry. I mean, he was talking about stuff that was over my head. You know what I mean? And but I liked him because he would he could just go from hot to cold in a second, But one of my biggest influences is there's two, and they're not comedians, and I mean in everything in my life. But Benny Hill, I'm a huge Benny Hill guy. That guy was, if you want to talk about a creative genius, he wrote everything. He wrote the music. He directed, he produced, he was a bit of he's probably on the spectrum and shit, but he did everything, and he was really loyal to his crew and his people, and also like the audience. Like the audience wasn't necessarily the same, but he knew the audience. So if someone was in there recording and he didn't recognize the face, he'd be like, I hate to be a bother, but you gotta go. And I admire that. But Benny Hill was and still a huge influence in how I just view the world in comedy. And then the singer from Mr. Bungle, Mike Patton,
Oh my God, Faith No More too. Yup, one of the best. Yeah,
Yeah.
fucking creative genius.
Yeah, I mean that guy and his whole band, from Bungle and Fate No More, all the branches and stuff that went out, all the creative stuff, um, really opened me up to a lot of things. And that guy to me, I really like what he did because he had a band, he had this group, and then he got in this one group and went crazy mainstream success. And then he was just like, yeah, no, I'm back down in the creative zone. And he tried to bring all his people up, and he did a lot, but that dude wasn't afraid of anything. So I was like, if this guy is able to do this, why can't I do it with, how I think and feel, But there's a lot more to comedy than it is, as far as working with a group. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics, but it's a tough gig, dude. It's a lot of shit to wade through,
I'm sure. And something that I had wanted to, bring up in this episode, and you already kind of touched on it, that being a comedian led you to the truth. And I'm thinking, tell me if I'm right or wrong. Being on stage and, like manipulating the crowd and like, influencing them to laugh or like get their opinion on a thing. Did that kind of, being able to do that as the comic on stage, did that give you kind of like a perspective to see how politics and other stuff and other people could manipulate the masses like pro wrestling or comedy style? Is that
yeah. Dude, 100%. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I'm not like numbers and statistics. I just like I look at comedy. Oh, and another thing that I'm really into, I fucking love televangelists. I love the big, because you talk about sorcery or a craft of
for real
owning a crowd, manipulating a crowd, and da 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 da. I mean, masters, and it unfortunately I think they are using it for evil. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But in a lot of sense. I can't really say, but from the looks of it, from what the people are driving up in, and from what the pastor's driving up in or whatnot. But I always look at I'm a Virgo, and one of the things that I've always been able to do is get a good read on a room. I improvise a lot of my comedy, based off the room and interaction and stuff. But I'm able to kind of get a read for the room and stuff, but I've also am able to hear things that are stuff that's being said. I'm able to hear the other thing that's being said, and that's really helped me out, like in understanding politics and stuff. And then when you look at like politics as Gerald Celente, I think he's the one that quoted it, is showbiz for ugly people, right? And you get into, it is all just like professional wrestling, where behind closed doors in the steakhouses, they're, or at their kids' lacrosse games or whatever they're doing at their private schools and shit. They're talking, or, their little eyes wide shut parties and shit, but they're doing stuff behind the curtains, and then in front of one another, they're over there like acting like they're chasing around like Tom and Jerry, I see all the bullshit, and I can't say I've read everything because I haven't, but I've read enough, and then I have my own personal experience and just my intuition to be able to look and see things and just be like, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like I was, I'm lucky. I was from an era that I was raised to think for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and then I also, I grew up around a lot of gangs, around a lot of hustling and thieves and backstabbers and, all sorts of shit. So, just taking that and just looking at the world, it's just like one of those things. So many stuff has just been proven wrong in our lives. And one of the ones, like when it comes to 9/11, people would be like, oh, people can't keep those kind of secrets. People can't keep, motherfuckers keep secrets, dude, to the grave. Okay. People keep secrets. You know how many chicks we're around. All right. That have a fucking kid by another dude, and another dude's raising it thinking that's his kid. I mean, dude, it is ridiculous. And they will even go down being caught acting like that shit. I mean, I see this stuff all the time on these little court clips and stuff, dude, where the paternity test come up, but you see it all across the board. That bitch is keeping her mouth shut, and that other dude is keeping his mouth shut. You know what I'm saying? So it can happen. Like I tell you what, man, it's like if you find that bag of that bag of all that money, in the desert, they're like, what are you gonna do first? And everybody's like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I go, the fucking right answer is what money? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's that's how you got to treat it. What fucking money, dude? That's it. So, that's how I look at it. Like through the lens that I have and looking into comedy, or I'm looking into politics and stuff, especially as a comic, it's to be like a magician. You're looking for the angle, you're looking where the sleight of hand is, and it's in words, it's in it's an expression. And one of the things is that everybody should learn is be familiar with is the book Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky. And it's the handbook for the Democrats. And basically the number one thing that they do, and it's right out there, is you blame your opponent for what you're actively doing. Right? So right now, as we're looking at this whole thing with Trump's a dictator, he doesn't want to get out of office, he doesn't want to do this, he wants to silence his political opponents, he wants to do all that. And what are the Democrats doing? Right? Oh, he's going to crash the economy and start World War III. What are they doing? So
yeah, we see a lot of that blaming.
Yeah, and
his admission of guilt.
Yeah, and Trump has his hand in that inflation bit with that whole signing off all the money checks for the COVID. I mean, what are you gonna do when you dump $7 trillion into the economy? You see what's going on in Venezuela right now?
No, what is it?
They're dumping their cash. They got it's like Weimar Republic. They're showing people trash bins, people just chucking their bills in there like fuck it.
What are they gonna do? It means nothing now.
Who knows, dude? I mean, they've been talking about those people been eating their damn fucking zoo animals and shit, dude.
They just want to usher in the world currency, the world digital currency. That's coming sooner than later, and it's gonna be that's it. It's not good.
Yeah, they're pushing on it on every angle, and everything's all in a concerted effort. What did that fucking creep dude? That Klaus Schwab, he was going to be a poly attack or something, something meaning many levels of from financial to weather to power grid, all sorts of stuff just happening at once. And then here we are. It's like a big crescendo building up to it,
Yeah, it's hilarious. I think that one of the funnier things was during the pandemic, the national coin shortage. The coin shortage.
Yeah. Yeah, how ridiculous is that? Yeah, trying to get away from the whole cash thing, and I heard that the big thing, a lot of people were complaining at the Olympics, not only about the migration stuff and the violence and all that, but it was they went trying to go cashless with everything. A lot of people were like, fuck this, and they left. They bailed on the Olympics just because they made it like impossible. Majority of people don't want to go cashless. So I thought that was beautiful. It's not really talked about on the news, but neither are the riots in Britain up against the Muslims and the Brits. Where you can say Christians, I guess, but they got some hometown violence going on right now, dude.
I have been seeing some of that.
Yeah.
And the Olympics are letting
all
dudes
by design.
Punch women too.
What's that?
The Olympics are letting dudes, full-grown men, punch women in the face too. So that's a kind of a reason not to like them too.
Yeah, and you see like there's so much. I'm one of my buddies is Sam Tripoli. I don't know if you guys are familiar from Tinfoil Hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was listening to one of his episodes, and this is something that me and him talked about quite a while. Is what's going on right now is they're throwing out so much stuff from both sides, right, on the same thing. So it's like people within our community, the conspiracy community, whatever, the people who question things. There's so much stuff going on. So like we have this boxer girl, right? We got this guy, girl, right? So I mean, fails a gender test, fails a testosterone test, but then they show pictures of her dressed as a kid or a girl as a child, really young. And then there's like all this back and forth and stuff. So it's like we really don't know, but then it's coming out. It was like, no, dude, that didn't pass the the test. It's a dude, and it's carried its way all the way to the finals, right? They're supposed to, and it's
Surprising.
two dudes who are fighting, right, that for the female championship. So
Who saw that coming, right?
Yeah, in the Olympics too, right? I could see that, like,
gender test too. All right, pull down your pants. Do you got a dick? No. Okay.
I guess, but then they have pictures. They have pictures
You
of the
failed the
supposed
gender
girl, but the girl wearing a male cup, and multiple different pictures in training and stuff. And it was like, and it shows against females. They don't have the same protective gear. There's a belt that goes around their belly, but they don't have that, or their midline, but they don't have that big coconut unit in the front. You know what I mean? It's just more of a, I don't know. I equate it to, that little rubber bumper that you can buy on the infomercials that you put between the stove and the counter. That's what they got going up the front right there. It's about a little strip, keep all the trash out.
There was a female groin shot in one of the last UFCs where they stopped the fight because the girl got kicked in the crotch. I was like, I've never seen that before.
It's gotta hurt.
I'm sure.
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I've slapped my wang on the girls, like, ow, damn, like, damn it. I'm like, oh, I watch the pornos. They do a lot. They put baseball bats in them things, dude. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, they're stomping a mud hole in that deal. That's the thing, real quick. This little side note. I hate it when I hear comedians, they all do the same joke, especially if they have a daughter. They're like, I want my daughter to be lesbian. Da-da-da. And I'm like, do you know how much domestic violence that they have? I go, and have you seen lesbian porn? You see what they do to each other? I go, some guy, unless he's got a damn table leg for a dick, ain't doing shit compared to what the foot stomping that they do in those lesbian porns, So, you know what I mean? Like, you might want to rethink that, people trying to be all trendy and shit, dude. I'm like, I mean, what, they have a 73% divorce rate? Lesbians?
Dude. And then if the woman does hit your daughter, you can't do anything as the father, so you have to go look for the fucking boxer, right? To beat her up.
Yeah, right. Oh, dude, there's a good indie wrestling thing where it has this chick smack this dude, and he's just like, ah. And he walks out the ring, then he comes back with a wig and a dress and just tees off on her, dude. Gets her in the corner, slams her, power bombs her and stuff. Yeah, dude, that's good writing right there, But yeah, there's just so much crazy shit. What got you guys started into conspiracy and looking at things? What was the first thing that made you think, like, this is all fucked up?
I'll go because I've told this multiple times. It's I got accredited to some WWE, well, WCW rather, when I was little, and I was a big Goldberg fan, and I was like super hype on Goldberg. Like, tried to watch his title fight against Kevin Nash when he was undefeated, and made my parents buy the pay-per-view.
The record.
Oh yeah, and yeah. I was real little, so I knew no better. I thought it was 100% like legit sport, It wasn't fixed in my head, and I fell asleep and I didn't get to see the result. And the next morning, my dad told me, he's like, oh no, you fell asleep. Scott Hall came and stun gunned Goldberg and like knocked out the ref and then dragged him on top of Goldberg, and they counted 1, 2, 3 and he lost. I was like, no, that didn't happen. No way. Like, he's like, no, dude, that's what happened. I was like, seriously? Like, that shouldn't count. Like, no, it's I was like devastated. And ever since then,
dude,
I haven't trusted it.
You would have been traumatized if you saw that live, dude. You're lucky you fell asleep.
Yeah.
You had a good bad news breaker.
Right.
Oh, dude. So yeah, so you were like, there's a hidden hand after that, huh?
100%. And then I guess just like teachers and hating homework and them telling me, like, if you don't do this, it was always just like a negative consequence. So you're going to end up like going to jail. You're going to end up this or that, just because I couldn't focus on my math homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was, I've always been interested in like aliens. I remember watching Alien Autopsy. I was like 11 years old, 12 years old. But, back then there was no internet. So it was like, it left me thirsty. So I'd literally look in encyclopedias, like for like Abominable Snowman, Bigfoot, like get anything I could, go to the library, get books. And then a part of it too was I saw what my family believed, and I didn't think that they were very smart in their decisions. So I was kind of a contrarian, and that kind of led me down the path too, to just seeing alternative points of view and seeing how limited everybody else's point of view was. And I didn't want to be like that. You know, I didn't want to be so sure of what you can't be sure of, you know, and just kind of evolved, you know, and as time went on, it's gotten more extreme, I guess you can say. But yeah, that's pretty much my origin story.
Have either of you guys had like a paranormal or a extraterrestrial type of experience or sighting or anything?
A handful. None that was extremely crazy profound. I'm convinced and pretty sure, and I had my friend with me, that we saw a dog man at one of the most haunted like woods around. There's a cemetery around where we live called Bachelor's Grove, and it's very haunted. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's pretty infamous for being like full of weird ghostly and otherworldly activity. It's got a lot of lore around it. And yeah, we saw some weird like hunched back but two-legged big black figure in it, and it was winter, so you could see pretty clearly with the snow on the ground a big black mass like sitting there and moving, and we ran. It was pretty scary. I've seen some weird orbs and lights. The house across
nothing like that could have been a bear, like out of hibernation or
not in Illinois.
Yeah, it was a big weird. It looked like it was like two-legged, crouched over, almost like just like a massive person. Even it could have been a huge person wearing like a big black ghillie suit or something. At 3 a.m. at a haunted woods in the winter, maybe. Yeah, well, we were there to see some scary shit. Other than that, I've had my fair share of like, I worked as like a guy who came in and reset venues overnight. Like when a banquet or something would be done, I would go take all the tables and like reset it however the format was supposed to be for the next event the next day. And I also worked as a bouncer at a bar, so I'd go after the bar and do that before the next day. So sometimes it'd be like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, and some weird shit would happen in that building when I was there by myself.
3 a.m, the witching hour, dude.
100%. Like a loud ass crash, as if like the entire stack of tables or something that I had been knocked over, and then I would go check and there'd be nothing. I'm like, what could have possibly made that noise? And there was no evidence of anything happening. So those are about the pinnacle of mine.
Dude,
I've had a few, but I'm not. Here's the thing: I don't really believe in that stuff. However, I've had a few. I've had. Yeah, I mean,
he's got scratch marks on his back from a ghost, and he doesn't believe.
I shouldn't say. I shouldn't say I don't believe. I should say that I don't know what to believe. You know, but I have had a few experiences. When the one Tom's referencing is actually legitimate. We have the episode that we recorded with a demonologist. I asked him about it because when I was little, well, first let me preface: my mom's favorite movie is The Wizard of Oz, and it's important because you'll see why. So I was maybe like, I don't know, man, 9 years old, 8, 9 years old, and I had this dream where I was in the middle of the staircase going up to the upstairs, and a witch that looked to me like the Wicked Witch of the West literally was on top of the stairs calling my name, like Michael, like luring me, and my mother was on the landing of the stairs. Okay. And it didn't, I mean, it was a dream, but it was fucking real to me as a kid. I mean, it fucked me up. And then
I had a witch situation, so I can relate, dude.
Dude, as a kid, like, and and the demonologist was like, yeah, they could basically they know in your mind what you conceive. And since I just saw that movie, now I'm thinking, fuck, that's like, but and many years later, I have these 3 deep scars, like scratches on my back, and I don't know where they came from. I was coming out of the shower one day. I was probably like 20, 21 years old, still lived at home with my mom, and she's like, what is on your back? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you got like these like scars, and they're healed. They're like bad, dude. They're like fucking, like, you would know where they came from. They're terrible looking. I don't know where those came from. So that's one of my weird things.
Not some random stretch marks or anything,
no, because they're not in the.
I had too many donuts last night.
No, I am a fat fuck, but it's in like the middle of my back, and it's like isolated. So like they're scars. Like, yeah, I could.
Is it like a claw type
sideways
swipe?
Like 3 swiped. Yeah, dude. I could send you a picture after the show. I'll send you a picture.
So you're like you're running away and something swiped at you or something, right?
I have no idea, bro. It was
no pain, no nothing, no recollection.
nothing, dude, nothing at all. Another one.
Have you checked your body for implants, bro?
I mean, no
Have you
more
been
than
abducted?
just. I don't know. I don't know. I have a tattoo that kind of implicates me being abducted, but I don't think I ever have. You know, like I don't have any. I wish. Like that's one thing. I'm like, come on, fucking grab me, dude. Like I want to go up there and see what's up. But,
That terrifies me, dude.
shit, as long as they bring me back, I'll be all right. You know. But I also had one more experience that I can't explain too, so I'll be quick with it. So we used to live in an apartment in Lombard, and it was me, my wife, and my 2 kids. And my wife had been experiencing weird things when I was at work, and I'm like, "You're just fucking crazy, losing it," you know. And so one night my buddy's over, and I'm like, "Let's fucking." It's like 2 a.m. I don't know. It was in the middle of dead of the night. And I'm like, let's fucking do EVP. You know, let's grab a recorder, a dictaphone, and fucking I'm going to ask some questions, you know. And I did. And one of the questions was, are you a male or female? And I audibly, we heard nothing, okay? Nothing. But then when I played it back and put headphones on, after I asked that question, you heard a female voice say, female. And when I fucking heard it, I went to my friend. I didn't tell him what I heard. I said, bro, what do you hear after I ask this question? And he said the same fucking thing. I played it for my wife. She heard it. And guess what we found out about 2 months after that? Because I was friends with Josh, who was the kid that lived below me, okay, the apartment below me. What I found out was about a year before we moved in, the woman in the apartment above us committed suicide from postpartum depression. So in my head, maybe that could be, you know, linked somehow. But those are like my 2 craziest ones, and I don't know what to believe. You know, I don't know, because those are, I can't.
Well, do you believe
them.
in the you know, all possibility, you know, the quantum, that everything is happening, every different version, every possibility and stuff, you know, the different ways things could be within the same but fractal off into another. You know, I always think that it's a dimensional thing. There's like, you know, the vibration changes like that. You know, like the girl, she checked out, her vibrations kind of still within that realm. But no, I believe in all that stuff. You know, not like
the witch encounter.
You know, oh well, yeah. So one of the things about me, and I believe this is. Other than like a few things, I think this is a huge deal. Like one, my numerology, I'm a life path of 11, which says that I'm an old soul. I'm also a Virgo. Says that, you know, being a life path of 11, I've been here a lot. You know, I've been through the ringer, supposedly, you know, as a soul. And so when I was 2 weeks before my 2nd birthday, I was being babysat at my neighbor's house, and they had a pool with a cover, the old bubble wrap covers. And I had pushed down the child gate, walked out, went in, and then the cover went back over. And they estimate that I was probably underwater for like 10 minutes, you know, and when they found me, they couldn't just immediately get me because my grandma couldn't swim. So one of the kids ran across the street, got another girl, teenage girl. She jumped in, got me. My grandma and her both did CPR on me, and they said that's pretty much what like saved my life. So like no visible or recognizable brain damage or anything, but I was dead, you know. And I think that kind of took a layer off of something. You know, I think there's something, I think something happened to me with that, because in less than 2 weeks, I was out of the hospital. I was fine, running around. I think within like 5 or 7 days, I was running around the hospital. And they're like, okay, he's got to go, you know, like they had to wait and see and whatever, but like a total miracle thing. And actually the same weekend that happened to me, OJ Simpson had a daughter that drowned in the pool and died. Same weekend. Crazy. And then I had a friend's brother he had an accident, a drowning accident, only a couple minutes, and he got mentally and physically retarded from it. You know, I mean, that's just a medical term, but loss of, I won't say loss of a limb, but crippled like one side, you know, speech, and, you know, he's always going to need assistance and stuff. So somehow I lucked out, you know, but I think that like kind of removed a layer of whatever. So I've always been different. I've always seen things different than other people, you know. And when I was a kid, my mom, single mom, me and my sister, she's 5 years older than me, we moved a lot. And I just remember, wow, why do we even unpack? You know what I mean? Like we're always just moving and stuff. So we end up having this one apartment in Huntington Beach, California. And the place was haunted like a motherfucker, man. I mean, I don't ever remember sleeping in that house. I remember going to the bathroom and seeing the stove moving, you know, on the way, and the cabinet doors closing and stuff, you know, and sounding like a metal frame bed being dragged over like the floor, you know, and it was all the time, you know. And I thought at one point in time when I got out a little older, I'm like, oh, you know, the cabinets and all that stuff, like that's just the child's mind. I go, the neighbors were probably just fucking like crazy. That's why I'm hearing all the banging and, you know, and stuff. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, I remember being sleep next to my mom and trying to wake her up during all this stuff, you know, and she wouldn't wake up. My older sister wouldn't wake up. And I remember, so, you know, it was terrifying to me. So I like had that. And then I was living with my grandparents. My mom, you know, I was staying at my grandparents. I was probably about 7 years old. And it was me and my friend JB from across the street, and we're you know, spending the night, and it's like a Saturday night. And I remember I had the front windows on. We had this couch right along the front window right there, looking straight out into the street, you know, and it was a clear night, and there's a big ass moon. And I remember my buddy was sleeping on the couch right there, and I'm on the couch, and I'm just staring at the moon, and I see this thing flying like around. So I'm just staring at it, and then I see it, like, it's giving me chills. I see it like swoop like close, like through the trees, like in front of the house and like around. And I was like, whoa, you know, like it was like a flash though, or not a flash, but like a swoosh, but it was black, like a shadow, you know. And then I'd see like it go back up, and then it'd come back down. And I remember I was like, man, and it just reminded me of like how a witch would fly. And as soon as that like crossed my mind, bam, right in the window, there was a witch, like right there, like the nose, the face, and they had these gnarly teeth.
Was she green?
And the hat. Yes.
Oh,
and it was
fucking
like
same thing I saw.
It was like a light green, like. And I remember just freezing, and it tapped on the window. Tap, tap, tap. And I just like slowly just turned away and like looked at my friend. And then as I like kind of like looked back, it took off. Being a glutton for punishment, I stared at that. I waited for it to happen again, and it never happened. But dude, it scared the hell out of me, because all of a sudden it was like, bam, right in my face. And then the teeth, I remember the teeth were broken, and it was gnarly, dude. And it just, you know, it was a cinematic situation and feel, you know. But like, I remember the finger looked like it was wood, you know, like it was a long nail or something. It scared the hell out of me. And I remember it, like, you know, I still think about it all the time. I don't want to say all the time, but it comes up, you know. And I had another thing like that happen to me out in the desert camping. Now, it wasn't anything that close, but my uncle used to take me camping. We'd go out into basically the Mojave. I live in Las Vegas, which is the Mojave, but it's on the California side. Now, granted, knowing what I know now, you know, with all the military stuff that's in and around, who knows, but it was kind of early in night, but, you know, sun goes down, it's dark, you know, and we got a little fire, and I had a spotting scope, and I'm just kind of aiming it in the sky. When you have stuff like that, it's all shaky and everything. I didn't have a tripod or anything, so I'm like looking, and I actually have this moment where I have just a clear shot, and I'm kind of just like looking at a star, and all of a sudden this thing just comes up and stops right in front of it or like below it. So now, and I was like, whoa. And I'm like looking, I'm trying to find it again, but once you take your eye off of it, it's almost impossible to get back to what you were looking at. And so I'm like looking, and all of a sudden I see this thing. Now I don't know how it is where you guys are, but like here in the spring or whatever, we get these like little gnats that fly in these little square patterns. They kind of just bounce around in a little square pattern, like they just kind of, they're not like fruit flies or anything. I don't know what they are, but this thing was flying like that, with just like a star, but as a dot, a glowing dot, and it just like in a square pattern, ready to go back and forth. But it was all like in 90 degrees. It wasn't like a circle or, everything was a straight line on where it was moving. And I was like, holy shit. And then all of a sudden, another one flies right up to it, and then it starts doing its little patterns. So it's kind of, they're just like moving in it. And I get my uncle, and I'm like, yo, dude, I go, look up there. And he's just like, I don't see anything. And I was like, right there. And I pointed and stuff. And he was just like, oh yeah, I mean, it could be a million things, And I was just like, so I'm freaking out, I'm probably like 10 years old. And I'm like, I'm just like, no, that just, it did, when stuff just doesn't sit right, you're like, ah. And so next thing you know, he's like, I'm going to bed. Da, 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 da. I'm like, okay. And I'm watching it, and they're there for a while. I mean, in my mind, 20 minutes, but it could have been 5 minutes. I don't know. I mean, I'm just like locked in on this. And next thing you know, as they're like doing their little patterns, one just goes, like in the movies when things just kind of, yeah. That thing just darts off and goes. And I was like, wow, right? So I'm watching the other one up there, and all of a sudden it's coming down like towards me, like towards where we're at, like, but it's way the hell up there, but it's coming, and I'm looking at it, and it's coming. Next thing you know, this thing just comes down, but it's still far away. But it's like, now it feels like it's in our atmosphere. It's in our, you know what I mean? Like, if it got any closer, I think I would have been able to actually see it, but it was still just the light, what I'm able to see, if that makes sense. And this thing comes down, and I just get this feeling like it's staring at me, and so I'm just like so I decided to go back to the truck where, where my uncle is, because we were camping. He had like a little camper. So I go back to the truck, and I was kind of like waiting there. I'm just kind of, and then I kind of look up, and the thing is over here now. So I had got out of the way of it to be able to see me. And next thing you know, when I look up, it's over on the other part of the sky looking at me. And I was just like, oh my God. And like, as soon as I said that, it just took off. So then, just like with the witch, I stood there all night long until the sun come up looking for that thing. But I mean, both times were things that, like, I felt like something, I felt like there was something being told to me. I don't know what it is. It's still one of those things that go over my mind. Other than, I can just say that it's really like, let me know, like, don't discredit or discount anything or everything, like, you might want to understand, understand that it might be beyond your level of thinking, I mean, that's where they come up with the word coincidence. It's just a way for them to say, oh, it's a coincidence, when they can't scientifically explain it. Right. I mean, that's all that is. When they're all like, all these things like mind over matter type stuff, works and all this shit. And like, well, it's just a coincidence, like the lady's adrenals went in. It was like, oh no, dude, there was a manipulation of the reality,
That's what I think. And it seems like almost you willed or manifested or influenced those situations with your thoughts. Because, like you said, as soon as you thought something, the situation changed. What do you think that witch thing was? Do you have any thoughts on that? You said you go back and forth in your head, but that's a wild story. What do you make of it?
Well, I don't, I mean, I don't know, because if it was like a if it was like a child abduction thing, I would have been taken. I mean, something that was moving that quick, that fast. Was it my imagination? I mean, it was fucking real as shit. I remember going to sleep. You know what I mean? I remember staying up until I had to go to sleep. You know what I mean? Like, so it wasn't like a dream or anything. I don't know, man. Sometimes I mean, if the devil wants to recruit you, I don't think you'd send a witch. You know what I mean? Like, that's not my kind of kink. You're not gonna, even a big titty witch, I'm probably not gonna go. I don't deal with warts. But geez, I like I said, I think it was a message to like let me know like there's things out there. You know, I remember when I was a kid, speaking about you had a demonologist, I had a guy that gave me the book of demonology when I was probably about 15. And because I thought it was all cool, Slayer,
Right.
And so I was like, I was into like reading it and stuff, and it talked about all these different things and these trolls and these energy, demons and stuff. And I had a dream one time, at least I thought it was a dream, when I was a kid, that when we were sleeping at a YMCA, a little after school thing, that I saw like demons or like demon shadows like sitting or crawling around the kids. All the kids that had like were asleep, and I had like kind of woken up, and I just saw like it's kind of like Monsters Inc. Like everything had like its own little different entity with it. And that wasn't anything that like stuck out in my mind. But when I was reading that book, I was like, oh shit. I was like, that really conjured up a big like memory, because that happened when I was a kid. But when I was like 15 reading that book, I was like, okay, there's something to all this shit, you know. But that's how that's the thing is, right now the whole world, it's all about good and evil, dude. I mean, that's the whole thing. I tell people, I don't care if you're religious or not. The people who are running the world and how they choose to operate the world do believe in whatever religion doctrine, be it the Talmud or whatever, and they're making decisions for humanity based off of that shit. So,
it's not a matter if we believe it or not. If they believe it, and their actions are influenced by those beliefs, which then have an effect on us. So we kind of need to be aware of it either way.
Yeah, and me myself, I mean, I was raised in and around a Mormon family, Mormon stuff. I was baptized Mormon, but my grandparents weren't strict with it, and all that. And I do like, what's crazy too is how much like pre-flood historical fact that the Mormons have in their doctrine about this land, America, like what was actually here pre-flood and all sorts of shit that's like backed up with Indians and the native tribes and all sorts of shit like that. But I at like 10 years old was like, I don't want to be around any of these people, because being around people at school, baseball, all my friends I skateboarded with, there was always like this competition. There's backstabbing, there's these rules, there's these, and I remember going into church and I was like, this is just more of that shit. You know what I mean? And then what's funny too was like people who were like holy rollers were caught cheating with each other's, banging other people in church and stuff. So I was like, I don't need organized religion. I think the most thing that I got out of it was like where to look into things, not what they're doing and all that. But I'm definitely a God-fearing Christian. I got my own hang-ups and shit, dude. But and I'm not like a Bible thumper and judge people and stuff, because I know that's not my position. But a lot of the things that I do, a lot of the things that I make my decisions and consider now in life, are based off of, the Christ doctrine. And it's not, there's a lot more that I can learn, but, as the more you learn, you're like, even this is kind of bullshit. There's something past this that led to this, so that's where I get into like history and all that stuff. Cause you're like, oh man, that really ties into what they were saying over on this side of the world or whatnot, there's a lot to be said. That's why I always laugh at people that are so sure,
Right.
You know what I mean? I go, dude, this is your first time. You know what I mean? This is what for we know. This is our first time here. How do we know what is what and who, I mean, fuck, dude, if you look at like a lot of our history, I mean, you go back in your family bloodline, it's going to stop up to a certain point where you can't find anything. You know what I mean? Like the majority of people, that shit stops in the 1800s, dude. You can't find shit. So are people, have you guys heard of the Cabbage Patch theory?
Oh yeah, man, that shit's wild.
You know what I mean? Like human cloning and like the big reset, and they added 1,000 years. So like everything was supposed to be like, say 900, and now it's 1902, or you know what I mean? Like, yeah, my uncle was really big into genealogy, and he's like, yeah, dude, I can only trace people back only so far, and I was like, dude, we're reset people.
It really could be. And one of the craziest things, I mean, it's not even that crazy, but when I first heard some of the Cabbage Patch stuff like being proposed as a serious thing, in my head I just was like, all right, let me look. What is the closest plant to human DNA? And it's cabbage. So I'm
really?
Like, oh, yeah, maybe it really could have been something they pulled off. Yeah. Like if you think about it that way, maybe they really could have figured out a way to grow a person with cabbage or something. If they're doing other types of cloning and gene splicing, it makes sense.
Well, remember in the when you look at like the 20s and the 1910s, and they had like human incubators. There was this babies in these incubators, and it was quite prevalent in the eastern like cities, in these places. Like this was like a thing, and it was like, where the hell did these kids come from? Then they had the orphan trains where it just shows, shipping all these kids out, and they're just like, oh yeah, they're displaced from war, and they're like, this still doesn't make sense. Like there's not that many displaced people. Like we're the, you know what I mean? Like we're the moms, but they had technologies back then that were, I mean, they definitely suppressing stuff. I mean, everything we're told is a lie, man. I mean, top down, and I think once we start getting more and more to the core of the onion, that's when they hit the reset and they get rid of us again, dude. Seems like they're trying right now.
I was about to say, it feels pretty close right now.
Well, one of the things I remember Alex Jones mentioning this. He goes, dude, when they try to depopulate, the population tends to boom. He's like, they've been slowly, instead of like a direct threat, they've been slowly doing this in a subverted way where it's now and it's it's manipulating the genetics. Whereas first, at other times, when you go to like put an attack, send people to world war and stuff, people tend to breed like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
What's crazy is when there's like when there's a potential threat to the species, we tend to breed more, but the thing is what they're doing now, it does look like
just breeding prevention instead.
There's a population crisis. I mean, right now I think Japan is paying people to go over there and knock up their women.
Sounds like a sweet deal.
Yeah, it does, especially when you see some of them mamas over there.
Yeah.
But Russia was doing the same thing. Russia, a few countries, they're like giving people tax-free loan or interest-free loans to start families or in a business and stuff like that for young people to get married. China, I mean, they reversed their child policy thing because they're heading for a shitstorm,
Sounds like someone needs to book a comedy tour in Japan and Russia.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I remember this was some years back because they've been in Vegas. They were in Vegas for a long time, but Putin like hired Boys to Men to tour over there to spur fucking lovemaking and shit. I guess they had like the most amount of songs that were played in the bedroom or something. Da, 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 da. Yeah, they scientifically so they tried to make them a big deal in Russia so that people would start boning and shit, you know.
That's hilarious. When you
Yeah.
mentioned that we reproduce more when there's, a threat, I've heard that more men are born around that time of war too. It's like humanity's balancing itself out whenever there's big wars, like just producing more fighting males. And if they were trying to just wipe us out and realize it doesn't work that way, then yeah, why not fuck everybody up with hormone imbalances and all types of things to kill our sterility, or even cutting off genitalia and making everybody mate with the same sex or not having fucking sex or gender. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, that seems to be the plan of action now for depopulation. Then is just sterilization.
Yeah, and it's all done off of like a lot of that stuff is all done off of the spin of what like being free is. Oh, you're free to do whatever you want. And then you have people that like kind of, either chemically or emotionally or physically manipulate people into doing these things out of freedom and doing, what's best for you and stuff. When that's a weaponization of our freedoms and all that. But so it's like, well, now you're going to put a law where you're saying you can't do anything with your body. Well, yeah, I mean, to a certain point before you're 18, you know what I mean? There's got to be a level, and it should be higher than that really, because I mean, I don't think the brain is fully developed until like 24 or something like that, like, I'll be honest though. I mean, other than finding better ways to like articulate myself and stuff, I'm kind of the same as I was when I was a teen. Other than some things I've grown to like, no, I just don't like that anymore, or that's not my thing. But they're trying to whittle us down, man. I mean, from everything from toxic masculinity to, I mean, shit, dude, they had TikToks of these soy boys that are like bone and tendon, telling people that it's like it working out is somehow oppressive to other people.
Yeah, right
yeah,
wing.
And I was like, taking care of yourself is, what do you expect from people with low testosterone, man?
For real.
Seriously. Yeah. What's that gonna get you? Those dudes gonna man the farm, slaughter the cows, and make the grass patties. Fucking,
What are some of your favorite rabbit holes to go down?
There's a lot, because it all ties together.
I feel
But what
truly,
I do like. There's a work done by a gentleman that I think very highly of, Michael Tessarian.
Oh yeah,
and he had Atlantis alien visitation and genetic manipulation, and basically he like breaks down how there was either cosmic or interdimensional travelers that came here and basically set up shop here on the planet, and there was another planet that was in between Mars and Jupiter, or us and Mars. I forget which one, but it was called Tiamat, and they believe that it was called the second sun. I think it was the second sun.
Tiamat and Marduk.
Yep, and the escapees, the people that were running away from said galaxy, which I forget. I'm kind of spinning my wheels with this, but they came here, but instead of like setting up shop here on Earth, they set up shop like a dummy deal on Tiamat or Marduk, and the pursuers came here and basically said, you know what, we're not going to waste any time and just blow up the planet, right? So where that planet is, we have our asteroid belt, and that asteroid belt still goes around, right? And a lot of the stuff that they believe that was from that planet, it gets cryogenically frozen in space, and some of that cosmic debris, when it made its way close to our atmosphere and gets pulled in, this is if you believe in space,
Right.
that kind of deal, right? But that's where we get a lot of the creatures, ocean creatures and stuff that are here. Suppose it's from another planet. And I remember when I was just moved out here to Vegas, there was a place, it's called Tule Springs, and they had, like, in just this one little area, it rained frogs, tadpoles and frogs, but they literally fell out of the sky. And they talk about that in other places where it's rained fish before, it's rained frogs, it's rained salamanders and stuff, right? And supposed those are things that aren't part of what was naturally here. It's kind of brought here. But I find that stuff fascinating. And then it goes in, that stuff from there goes into, from the Anunnaki to basically, manipulation of man and basically making it what we are today. And it's funny is when I listen to dudes like Tessarian and David Icke, and they talked about this shit that they researched, and Jordan Maxwell and stuff, they researched from dudes before, and they were talking about all this, our DNA's been messed with. We're nowhere on the evolutionary chain. Like, there's no monkey to us. There's something in between if we're supposed to be, like all this, and then it comes out with all these different scientists and quantum, stuff that these people are like, oh yeah, dude, our DNA has been altered. Our telomeres have been cut. Like, we should be able to regenerate a limb. If this was connected, we'd be able to live forever. With all this kind of stuff. I mean, if you look at it, we're like the old cars, dude. The cars now, planned obsolescence. So whatever created us. And then when you get to the Bible, they're like, yeah, so and so lived 300 and some years. You're like, that's fucking stupid. No one's living 300 years. But they're like, dude, if these two things were connected, we'd be living like 300 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's like crazy. So there's a lot of validity to that stuff. That's one of the things I go rabbit hole with. The other thing, which goes along with that, is like the psyop that we're bombarded with. Again, being somebody that tells jokes and uses deception and turns and, keeps people on their toes. You see it all over, I mean, I think They Live is one of my favorite movies.
My favorite movie ever.
And it tells you so much, and limited dialogue in that movie too. A lot of it's just like showing you different things, but it's everywhere, I mean, and then when you look at like people like, oh, that's crazy. I go, dude, they spend $4 billion a year in marketing, research, and in advertising towards children. $4 billion. It's probably even more now. You know what I mean? And why is that? They're creating brands for life. And what do you do with politics? I mean, why do you think we have student body president and da-da-da-da-da? And all that shit, dude. We're just building them all the way up. I mean, look at all the politicians today, dude. They were all student body presidents and all. You know what I mean? They were all involved. Sonic. Well, they were all involved. They were all involved from day one of wanting to help. But then when you find out how good of a business is of being a politician, of not doing shit, and getting greased everywhere, fuck. I understand.
You mentioned you're a Tessarian guy. Have you gone down his Irish origin of civilization route?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some wild. I love that stuff.
A lot of that, when you tie that in with the Phoenicians and the Egyptians, you get into the Italian bloodlines. And I know Tripoli has mentioned it before, but that's where supposedly what's really ruling the world. So a lot of people think it's the Jews, which I mean, you can't deny they're doing their thing, right? But there's layers of the 13 families, the bloodlines,
For sure.
and these people are people I mean, we know the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, and we know the Vanderbilts and all these people and all this stuff, whoever, but you don't hear of like the Cressinis, and you don't hear of like all the Osiris and all these people who are like resource owners, but they're like bloodline people,
Right.
Untouchables, I guess. I guess there's people you start talking about them and weird shit happens to you. It starts going on in your life, So there's so many there's so many layers to everything. Getting back to the Tessarian with the Druid stuff. Did you ever see the Family Guy where it shows the Irish
Before alcohol.
before alcohol?
I feel like that was a nod
That's
to the Tartaria civilization thing too.
That is 100% telling you, look how we brought them down. You know what I mean? Like, and here's another thing too. When you want to look at like trophy heads, look at our money. Look at the heads on our money. Almost all of the people who are on our dollar, our faces are on our dollar, oppose the Federal Reserve System. Only a couple of them that actually supported it, but they're all trophy heads. They were all defeated. You know what I mean? I mean, Andrew Jackson, probably the biggest one. I mean, they had 2 attempts on his life, and it said on his headstone, "I killed the banks," right? But they still got what they wanted. They put his head on his face on their money because it's like a fuck you for life, But there's so much symbolism in the thing. I mean, it's truly like, look who went up against us. We took him out. Abraham Lincoln on the money. George Washington, he died from some botched operation, right? What they got JFK on there on the money, And then you have on the $100,000 bill Woodrow Wilson, and that was the dude who signed in the Federal Reserve Act and got it all right. But after he did, he comes out and he says, "I think I unwittingly destroyed our country from within." And they were like, "Yeah, buddy, bam, you get the top note." You know what I mean?
Oh man,
it's crazy how they do. But for all this stuff that, like, for everyday people, all of us, like, it's like, oh, that's stupid, it's weird. These elites, they're obsessed with it. And if you've ever been around people who got crazy money, someone in their family, if not them directly, are obsessed with their family tree and their bloodline. And they have pictures. I've been in some very wealthy people's homes and stuff, and every single one of them has something that shows the lineage of both the families, this, that, and they track it, and it's like a running ledger of sorts.
That's just a coincidence, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, when you look at all the presidents, you look at all the rich people and stuff, they're all got these bloodlines, they're interwoven. Celebrities, they're like, how does that even? Because again, there's stuff there that they get outside of the bloodline, so they don't make retarded fucking people. But there's a lot of inbreeding in that shit. When you look at him, you're like, how the fuck is this dude? Like, there's some people you're like, how the fuck is this dude supposed to be like top dog? I mean, he looks like he's like pulls his pants down to his ankles when he takes a piss at a urinal. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a big boy,
And it's because a lot of the times they think that they are related to some like supernatural being or beings or the fallen angels or the Nephilim or whatever, some like mythological king they trace their bloodline back to in most cases.
Well, they think they're better, right? They tell themselves that they're better. They raise their kids to believe that they're better. They don't look at money the same way as we do. They don't look at opportunities in business the same way as we do. It's a totally different thing. And they are on these blue blood elites and stuff. They are on a different vibration.
For sure.
It is true. I mean, it is. There's, a great guy to look up and research, Kevin Trudeau. Not Justin Trudeau I think they're both from Canada though, but Kevin Trudeau, the guy that had the cures they don't want you to know about, and the money they don't want you to know about, and this dude broke down all the bullshit, put it into a book in an infomercial, and was like, look, dude, they're telling you this because they want to sell you these medicines, they want to do all this and well, this guy had a great seminar or whatever called Your Wish is Your Command, and he took all these teachings from like Illuminati study, the Brotherhood, all these different things, and he compiled it in there on how to like use your mind and all stuff like that. Well, this information was so powerful, they put this dude in prison, tax and all this shit like that. Now he's out, and he's on TikTok, and he's going crazy, dude. I mean, he's just putting it all out there again. But if you can find his works, that guy, you want to talk about being ahead of his time, dude. But he's talking on the surface level, and he talks about like how like the Brotherhood and the Illuminati and like all these different he knows people from the Trilateral Commission, and they're like all this shit. And he's talking like everybody knows what he's talking about, but the audience that he is talking to does know. So any Joe Blow that buys his stuff or bought it back then, they're like, this is a bunch of garbage. I don't know what he's talking about. So they have no like frame of reference. But it tells you everything about your mind. It tells you everything about how to go about your business and do things like how the elite do. And he talks about they are on another vibration, and this is how you get to that vibration. That's basically what his whole thing is. And it's amazing work. It's something I think, if you can find it. I had it, but they took it off. I had it saved on a playlist. They took it off the internet.
Oh,
yeah. And you know what? They put all his shit out there for a while for free, so he couldn't make any money. So whoever, like when the government took over his shit, they put all that shit on the internet for free, so he couldn't make any money off of it. Yeah, because they didn't want his money from the tax or anything. They wanted to shut him down and like stifle it. So they went, and then once somebody that gets arrested for fraud and all this stuff like that, then all his shit's out for free. No one watches it. It's fucking bars of gold it was sitting right there for anybody to pick up, But yeah, Kevin Trudeau, dude, that guy was legit as far as breaking down information and stuff.
Was he talking about the families we don't mention?
Some of it, a little bit. What's crazy is one of my big problems is I end up doing so much research and covering a lot of shit that I don't know where I saw it, or I couldn't give you the link, right? I'm not a guy that saves links and all stuff. And when I do, a lot of stuff that I have, I go back, page doesn't exist, or,
Oh, yeah.
So I quit trying to like keep everything, and then when I did, I could never find it. I got it somewhere. But I came across this like map, and it was like corporations, world leaders, the bloodline families, Then it went to like this old world stuff and these like old world families, And I was like, holy cow, man. I go, there's a lot of other shit here. Then it had like this other link to click off that, and it was like basically went into like a world of like Conan the Barbarian and all these like different, ancient stuff. And basically what it was saying there is if you've made it this far, fucking good luck. You know what I mean? Because you're not getting out of this little, and I wouldn't even know where to start. Looking at all these names, shit I couldn't pronounce, these maps that had countries or regions or whatever that I don't know what language is in. They're all hyperlinked and everything. You could click to it and it'd give you all the information, but it was just blah, 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 blah. But there's so much shit. What do you do? You know what I mean? Like where do you start? How do you even make sense of what we got going on in front of us
on the surface level? Yeah.
Fuck, man.
I think I might know what you're talking about a little bit. Was it like you said there was like some Conan the Barbarian shit where it was like there was dragons and that's why castles were fortified, and there was Tesla towers and knights armors was actually designed to like fight electromagnetic weapons and shit like that. Is it something like that?
It was more towards the families or tribes and what they did, what they controlled, and the regions. It didn't get into anything that we would consider mythical or anything like that. But it was like conquering and taking over, and it seemed to be the world like there was a world before and there was a world after the collapse or after the flood or the whatever,
some sort of cataclysm.
Yeah, and all I know is that one, I wish I had it because there's a lot I'd like to reference from it. But the other thing is you think you know something, and then there's like, oh no, it's like Men in Black. They're like, you're gonna let them. We gotta let them know that they're living in a locker. There's much more to the world than that. And the dude's like, oh, you don't know anything. He opens up the door and then they're in a locker. And then they got the whole train station for aliens, and that's how the more you research, the more you'll find. That's why I was always a big proponent. Everybody's like, oh, let's raid Epstein's Island. I go, yeah, cool. Let's raid the Vatican vault. That's where, to me, I think that's where the world's secrets are. I think everything.
I'm with you.
When they tell us, oh yeah, they took all the stuff and then they burned it. No, they didn't.
They got miles of information under there.
Yeah, but it's information. Like they sought out information to learn more about the world or whatever, to get a better advantage of stuff, and then they're just gonna burn it and stuff. No, these guys took that charts, and this way they're trying to predict whatever they can, from astrology all the way down to numerology and making things happen. What do they know? What do they know about the herbs in that area that we don't know? What's written down? What's what kind of medical procedures are they doing over here that we could benefit? You know what I'm saying? They just burned it. Took all the gold. That was it.
No, pretty much ties back to what else you said too. If they were able to raise their vibration or use powers that are already accessible to us, but just suppress it from everyone else, so they're the only ones that can use it. It's the same thing with knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys ever heard of the ancient miners theory?
Not sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Tell us.
So, when I was going down my Tartarian rabbit hole, I came across this thing called the ancient miners. And have you ever heard of like all the rivers and lakes, in the United States are fake? They're man-made.
I have heard people say that they were excavated, or like blown out with dynamite or something.
They're a construct, right? So ancient miners theory is there's these aliens, there's a life form that came here to mine the minerals, but the planet wasn't, as you would say, fully developed, right? So there's a phenomenon when lightning strikes and hits the ground. If it's the right kind of minerals and stuff, it'll make, when that electricity disperses, and how it does its patterns and stuff,
the scarring on the earth,
right? Where that energy goes, if there's the right kind of minerals, it'll actually make a mineral. You know what I mean? Like it'll make it's like a form of alchemy or whatnot, like combining, right? So you know how like they're always trying to turn lead into gold, right? The chemistry and stuff. Well, apparently, with the amount of heat from, saying, like a lightning strike and the right elements, gold can be made, right? Gold can actually appear. And I think that's how actually gold comes from, is some sort of energy in the elements makes it. So with the lightning hitting the area, it would make this pattern, okay? Now, one of the things is with this pattern, the pattern has like very lightning strike and stuff, or electricity, it has a very distinct branch pattern. And there's these parts where it connects, and it kind of makes like a 4, right? So this dude like breaks down, he goes, you look at all the rivers, you look at all the streams, you look at all the from the Grand Canyon stuff, this looks like a lightning strike in these areas that made all this, and then something would have to come and excavate all that out, right? So with a body of water or a source of water around, aquifer underneath, whatnot, if they were to be able to use giant water cannons or something like that, because what's the best way to cut through anything is water, right? High pressure water can cut through metal, right? Blast it all out, break it all down, and take the gold, take the ore, take whatever they're able to create, right? So this guy uses a demonstration of a wooden table, and this is art that they do, and they take like an electric pen or whatever it is, and they put it in the wood, and it burns all through the wood, right? And it creates
a veiny, broody looking pattern.
Yeah, right. And as you're watching this happen, you're like, that's the fucking Grand Canyon. That's the fucking Grand Canyon right there. Because, dude, I do tours to the Grand Canyon, and there's parts of the tour where I'm like, this doesn't make sense for a river to cut all this out. All the stuff off to the sides, the branches, it looks like lungs, like the pulmonary, you know, the brachial, you know, track or whatnot. And so then if you think about it, if there was some being or something here that had that technology to do that, and then they use the hydro to loosen it all up so they can break it out, and they had, just imagine if they had giants, that'd be easy work for them, pull it up.
Yeah.
But then to get down to the nitty gritty, they make the ants, right? So we go down there and we're panning for gold, and you know what I mean? Like we're still digging it up today. But there's part of these like in these areas, these regions, there's part of where this gold is that they were just like, fuck it, dude, we're not getting all the way in there. Like that's for here, you know. But when you look at that electrical thing, and you look at the burning of the wood, and you look at all the rivers and all the stuff, you're like, holy shit, you can't really just you can't smoke that enough weed to just pull that out of your ass.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this is something that I have to go like, well, the math here is what's putting these together. You know what I mean? Like, because again, when it comes to the Grand Canyon, there's a bunch of shit. This doesn't make sense as far as the flow of the river and all the stuff around it. The big gaps of
like pillars in the middle, pretty much.
No. There's these big. So you have like these layers on the wall, right? And it looks like years. Then there's like this huge flat, you know, section. It's probably like 1,200 feet. That's just a band goes all the way around, and it's like that. You know, it's like that in a couple spots, and it was like, that's a massive movement, something that happened right there, and it's clean. It's, you know what I mean? It's a layer of the Grand Canyon. To me, I think that was like a big harvest.
Is that layer, smooth layer, is it vitrified?
What do you mean? I'm not familiar with vitrified.
Vitrified is when rock is heated up to its molten, and then it cures and it becomes smooth like glass. They find this in Peru and Machu Picchu. They find it in the Andes Mountains in certain areas where literally rock was heated up to temperatures that we can't even comprehend here on Earth today. And it's like what happens from a nuclear blast. It vitrifies the rock. It turns it into like a shiny flat glass. I was just wondering if that's how it appeared.
No, not from what I've seen. I haven't seen anything like that. When I say smooth, it's not like it's not smooth as far as like, you know, to the touch. It's smooth as far as it's a clean section that goes, you know, around the whole thing. It's
in comparison
like
to
shelf.
The jagged pieces, it's very smooth in comparison to the other pieces.
Yeah, you're seeing like layers, and all of a sudden this big layer.
And that's a tremendous amount of time too.
Quick, yeah.
No, and exactly. It seems like it was something that would happen quick to be able to do that. With the other things, is like it looks like it's stripping. But then that's just along like the wall. But then there's things that go. It all goes in like that electric. Everything goes down the center, but it's still burning out. You know, again, makes a lot of sense. And then as you're talking about the pillars and stuff down there, why can't we go? There's a few places we can't go to the Grand Canyon. You know. And you know what else is crazy about the Grand Canyon? They have the most, at least this is some years ago, but they had the most amount of escaped convicts living in the Grand Canyon because the terrain's so gnarly and stuff. They pretty much can't afford to rescue or retrieve or anything like that. So yeah, when people disappear, it's like, well, there could be a serial killer living out there that they've never got, you know, who knows? But
I feel like they could.
you know, but there's, you know, they talk about the lost city of gold being in the Grand Canyon. That would go along with an ancient miner theory.
It really would.
You know, and if they had the technology to do that to the rock, and then you see how they do have those pictures of the place that were like cathedrals carved out in that rock, you know, it's crazy how we're just led to believe that shit was just done by somebody. Just
I know.
You know,
have you heard of the Kincaid expedition?
Down in the canyon
in the early 1900s, where he found all the Egyptian gold and artifacts, and then the Smithsonian, they printed it in the paper, but then the Smithsonian came in and like, no, it's all a mistake, never happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did that, and then they also they did that with the giants whenever they found like a giants, and you know, you have to remember in the late 1800s, I'd say 1880s to like the 1910s, they were finding giants all over the place. You know, and they would all just mysteriously disappear. You know, then Nevada, we had the red giant, the Hopi Indians killed, or was it the Paiutes, one or the other? But they both
Cave.
Was that?
Was it called Lovelock Cave? The cave where they like trapped the giant in and smoked him out or whatever and killed him.
Yep. And then they found bones of something that would have been at least 14 feet tall. The femur was like, you know, basically like my whole leg or something, like my entire leg, or thing would have been massive. Yeah, man. I mean, they've been trying to hide all sorts of shit. You know what's crazy about Nevada? People, we talk about the Bermuda Triangle, people disappearing, dude. We have our own Bermuda Triangle. Look it up, man. Between here, Death Valley and Reno, there's this area like going on up. I think there's been over 3,000 like missing aircraft over like X amount of years or something, dude. 3,000? Like what?
Desert's a strange place.
That's all desert, right?
Yeah, but you know, one thing which this would be, you know, really fucked up, but there's a couple places you're not allowed to fly, which I don't think that many planes flew over the wrong place, but testing stuff out there all the time. You know, these people, they see something they weren't supposed to see, get taken down. I don't know. That's a lot of people, and to not find any wreckage. The other thing is we got Area 51 or Area 52 out there. You know, who knows? But there's a lot of Nevada that has never been, they say man's foot's never crossed. It's uncharted. Like it's too dense to get through. And if somebody has, no one's really marked it or anything like that. But there was a billionaire that flew, and he was flying up north. He had like this glider plane or something. I think his name was Fawcett. And he disappeared for years. It took him for a long time. And I don't even think when they said they found him, I don't think they were able to confirm, but he died in the triangle. You know, now their excuse is from all the radioactive dust that gets kicked in the air, it throws off the instruments because of the testing. Thing is, testing really wasn't done there unless they're not giving us the truth. Testing was done in a different place. So unless California had some testing going on, you know, everything moves from west to east. So it would, if they were testing there, I mean, that's one of the things about like Utah. Supposedly they have like really high cancer rates from the fallout that would blow from west to the east into Utah. They called it the downwind effect. And, you know, from all the testing in Nevada, just blow right on in. Here you got your little Aaron Brockovich situation where everybody in towns are getting cancer like a crazy rate. They don't know why.
Going back to what you said about people never stepping foot in places of in certain spots in Nevada, man, if anybody's ever driven through the canyons of Utah or the deserts of Nevada, that is completely easy to conceive. I mean, it is ridiculous how vast that shit is. It's terrifying, actually. Like Utah, the canyons, that's some of the scariest shit I ever seen. Yeah,
yeah.
Unbelievable.
Beautiful, but
right, exactly.
terrifying.
Stunning.
But that's where they got that Skinwalker Ranch, dude. You know, I have people that, you know, say they've been up there and all stuff and weird shit's happened, you know. I have a friend who has a property that's supposedly not too far from there, and he's like, bro, I get spooked out every time I go up there because something always just the energy's different, dude, you know. I was just looking at buying some property in Utah, man. It was a beautiful place too. Nowhere near that shit. Because I don't play around, but there's something about it. I mean, the Native Americans still don't allow their people to go on that land. You know, there was a place where they supposedly like there's a buried treasure or something, and like they go get it every time they get closer. Someone gets one of the dudes was attacked by a spirit, like with the scratch marks that you're saying, they're burning on the face. Another dude just had like a young guy just had like a heart attack out of nowhere. This is like kind of pre-COVID when all this stuff, so it's not like you can blame the vax or anything, you know. But machines breaking down to like all sorts of crazy stuff where this dude spent like over $1 million and just things just keep on happening, trying to get down to that little supposedly some treasure and shit.
Sounds like Oak Island.
It sounds like what?
Oak Island.
Oh, not Oak Island.
It's an island off the coast of Nova Scotia where they believe like the Holy Grail is buried. There's a TV show on it. It's called The Curse of Oak Island. But this has been documented for hundreds of years that there's something down there, and they've found like I can't even get into how much shit there is, but they found like ancient fucking Roman coins. They found banana husks in Canada, but these date back to like 1300. So, and it is rigged into such every time they start drilling, it floods the chamber. It's a show. I mean, I was turned on to it before the show, but there's like 10 seasons of it on the History Channel. It's called The Curse of Oak Island. It's an interesting show, and it's I like those shows that kind of teach you history and kind of what we're into, you know. At the same time, you mentioned fucking the ranch, the
Skinwalker.
Yeah, have you ever seen the TV show Skinwalker Ranch?
No.
That's another one that's pretty good. They're very similar in the way they approach things, and it seems to be legitimate, but you know, it's on TV, so you can never quite tell.
Yeah, you know, it depends. Sometimes stuff slips through the cracks. Sometimes it has to go out, you know, so they can say, "Oh, well, we told you."
I think that's part of it too, and they give it just enough, and then they'll mislead it just enough as well. Mm-hmm. Give a little bit of truth, a little bit of lie.
Yeah, I mean that's been like with everything, really. You know, what's really sad is a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, you know, like TV isn't what it used to be, or journalism, you know, and it was like, dude, it was all like set up to be a psyop or controlled opposition from day one, you know. Yeah. Like it's all been a part of the manipulation, you know. And so I've gotten away from a lot of it because I guess it's the idea that of freedom and truth and stuff like that and free will, but it's the idea of that stuff. But you would always look to examples. Oh, so and so used to be like this, and then now I was like, well, that dude was probably controlled too. He just was there to make you feel like it wasn't a runaway train, you know, whatever you're feeling as far as whatever they're selling, you know. I mean, everything was all, I mean, the hippie movement, you know what I mean? Like every single thing is just
given,
you know, us. Yeah. I mean, we are this country, this whole thing is, you know, the world's greatest experiment, you know.
Did you guys know that 44 of the 46 presidents can be traced back to the same bloodline? They all have common ancestors. I mean,
they're all related to the other royal families and shit too.
If that doesn't, that's just
who's the only one that's not?
I think there's Kennedy and I don't know if it was Roosevelt. Oh, I don't remember the two.
Trump.
Okay.
He's the only one that he doesn't have any ties to the. I think it all ends up going back to the Merovingian bloodline.
Holy Roman Empire.
I think it goes. I think it's I forget which one, but yeah, Trump was the only one that was like not in any way, shape, or form. His bloodline didn't. So, that's weird. I think that's weird, especially with all like the hate that he gets and stuff. But again, a lot of times I'm thinking pro wrestling too.
That's
You know,
100% as we're
you
kind
know,
of wrapping up.
but me personally, I would much rather have the Don than whatever's coming in. At least this guy. I mean, I hate to say it, but he's seems like the only one who's at least saying that he's trying to do something for his people, for a country. You know what I mean? Like, I like the idea of being energy independent. Our country. I mean, when you think about it, how do you really control people? Energy and food. And you can't really do one without the other. That seems to be a big issue right now. And all the people that are with with the Democrats and the big businesses and shit, they're all for us eating bugs and shit like that. Trump
Yeah, I
sold
was going to ask
steaks.
if you think he is just a character propped up for us.
Well, what was it? I think I do think there's a little bit of that. It's really tough to see. One of the things that doesn't get mentioned was when Trump was in office, I believe on 2 separate occasions, his food tasters were poisoned.
Wow.
And they didn't bring that up. But when he was in office, the 2 of his people, that's why he always goes to, he tries to go to random restaurants, and usually he goes to fast food. So people are like, oh, dude, he's always eating McDonald's and da-da-da, because, dude, he can just pop in any McDonald's and know his food ain't going to be poisoned, And they send him out to, like, different locations and stuff, so they don't even know. Besides the point, though, there's been other attempts on his life. A lot of me is like, dude, they shot at Trump. There's multiple shooters, an inside job. Then there's a lot I'm looking at, and I was like, dude, was this staged? You know what I mean?
So
On
many
his end.
layers.
I don't. Yeah, and again, as we were saying earlier, they throw out so much stuff to make us go back and forth and da 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 da. But I think the thing that really, when it comes to Trump and stuff, is like, dude, it seems like all of the eggs are in one basket with him. And if that is the case, let's just say it is red and blue, black and white. There's no weirdness going on as far as being a staged or inside job. Let's just say everything is legit. People tried to take him out. If he is the one dude and they took him out, we're fucked. Because who else is going to come in and actually do stuff to like push for the country? I don't see anybody that's doing. I mean, the immigration. You guys, are you in Chicago?
Yeah.
Right? Are you seeing the effects of the immigrants coming in? Because I live in Vegas, and let me tell you, dude, the amount of Mexican people that you don't normally see, you see everywhere, in from the taco stands to the food trucks to the selling the stuff, like it's everywhere now, when it used to not be here. But since Biden's been in, it's gone through the roof. And they're not legal. They're the businesses that they're running and stuff, they're just setting up stands literally in front of other restaurants, CVS, Walgreens. They're like, bam, they're doing their thing. They only do it at night when you know what I mean? But they got all this stuff going. This was never here before. That's because there's an influx of people trying to just do whatever the fuck. What I'm getting at is like, that wasn't the thing. That wasn't happening with Trump. You know what I mean? As far as immigration and stuff, it truly was the lowest in our country's history. It's the exact opposite now. So again, if all the eggs are in one basket, and it's got to, if there's going to be any change, man, it has to happen on the local level. I tell everybody, oh, this is all good, but you guys keep voting in the same school superintendent. You guys keep voting in the same assemblymen and all these people who actually have more to do with your lives. There was this asshole here in Vegas who was like, oh, you got to wear your mask, got to do a shot, you can't go out, social distancing. And then, like, a day later, he's doing a bar crawl with people all drunk, hugging and making out with dudes or whatever. Like, not making out, but, they're kissing cheeks and shit. And it was like, oh, okay, you can see the work here. Do as I say, not as I do type deal. And this dude, this has been a local politician gone unchecked forever. You know what I mean? It was like, dude, get him out. Obviously, this guy is being told to do something and it's not for the people. I don't know, though. You know, as far as the you know, the presidency and all that stuff, dude, whoever's willing to go up against the system, the true powers that be. I mean, it fuck, man, what's gonna happen? You know, what's gonna happen if like a civil war breaks out? You know, I got all these like, you know, right wing friends like, oh, dude, we got our guns, they're sissies, da 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 da, and all stuff. And I was like, bro, they are bringing in military aged men from China, Africa, Latin America, from Muslim countries. They're just funneling in, dude, every day. You know, you're thinking it's some purple-haired lefty who, you know, who's all about, you know, down with the patriarchy and, you know what I mean? Like, no, dude, I mean, look what's going on in Britain right now.
Well,
these dudes are getting stabbed, hacked at with machetes and shit, dude. It's
just the perfect storm for the elites, because then they can get people, you know, divided over an issue. They can bring in people from cultures that are going to cause chaos to the culture that they're entering. And then at the same time, if they do give all these handouts and like they claim everyone is being racist, so you can almost like oppress the people who are just trying to push back against, I guess, protecting their way of life in a way. Mm-hmm. So that you're causing division, you're causing duress, and then the people who are coming in and getting handouts will much more easily than obey the orders. Yeah, exactly.
Support the system.
Yeah, because they're getting handouts, they're getting, you know, accommodations. So they're like, all right, we gave you a house, we gave you all this, we're, you know, looking out for you, protecting you from the racist natives. Now just follow our new rules that we're going to implement.
So we've been having the Democrats push to have illegals to be able to vote in our elections.
Yep. And then they'll give them military service or something for the right to vote.
Right. Where do you think it's not a civil war, it's a takeover. But if that happens, they get these guys in. Who do you think our military is to not, you know, they're not to turn on the American people, right? They're supposed to protect the American people. They're supposed to actually go against orders of those type things. How many would? Who knows? I mean, I think they asked the military one time, would they turn on the American people? And like, it was like a resounding, like, you know, 93% said, you know, 100% no, not at all. They never. Then there was like a 3%. They said yeah, and then there was like another, whatever the percentage was, said I don't know. So you just have to lump those two together, saying this amount of people will fucking turn on their own country, their own people, you know? And now you get all these people in, these military people, like you said, who just coming in. Now they just want all the benefits and shit. Fuck yeah, they'll mow us down because we're threatening their little meal plate, you know, when they're coming in, there's part of it. But then look at this, though. Again, Democrats been screaming and saying that the Russians and, you know, they manipulated the election and that's how Trump got in. It's all Russian collusion and all this shit. In the same motherfucking breath, they want to say, oh, illegals should be able to vote in our elections. So if that's the case, then you're saying that it's okay for these Russians to come in and vote legally in our elections because they're legal, or, you know, they can come in over. So that doesn't make sense. So it's like, oh, we just had these guys just commit this fraud, but then it's okay if they come over and vote anyways, you know? But then if you look at it, if they were to give them the ability to vote, I think they said all they need is, like, with the voting population stuff, all they need is, when it comes to the Democrats, 50 million of them in there to be able to vote. Republicans would never win, or no other party would ever win a race ever again, because they would be able to stack the tables. And that's what they're trying to do, you know? I mean, it's right in front of our eyes, you know? I mean, it's happening in front of us. And it's, again, they come at you and they say, oh, you're racist, you're xenophobic, you're this, that, and the other thing for opposing this, or even point it out. And it's like, no, dude, this is how places get overthrown and taken over. And you're like, when people look at, oh, how did that happen? Well, here's how it's happening. It's just like everybody, oh, how if I was around, I wouldn't let anybody kill a Jew. I'd kill Hitler, right? And then at the same time, like, put on your fucking mask, take a shot, you're killing grandma. You know what I mean? It's like that's how they did it. They got you all fucked. You're not even thinking for yourself. You know? Now we have people, they're just churning them out of college. Fucking brains are cooked.
It's terrible.
You know what I mean? Cooked.
It's horrible.
Cooked. I mean, they don't even know male from female. You know what I mean? They're arguing about that. Dude. And then they come and say, they're like, did they say black people are too dumb to get an ID so they can go and vote? They don't have a computer. They don't know what the internet is. They say this shit.
They're
and
trying
they're coming
so
right
hard
out
to
of
not be
college.
racist that they're extremely racist.
Yeah, dude, they're Mr. Magoo to their own racism, you know?
If you have to try to not be racist, you're racist. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, that's just the way it is.
You know, and I'm not saying anything, but let me tell you, one of the most fucking disgusting things to see in this world is just to me personally, I cannot stand people with white guilt. I can't stand it.
It's so
Me
cringe.
too.
It is so fucking gross because one, you know, first off, I guarantee none of them ever had their families ever owned slaves. I mean, that was such a minute portion of the population. Just to take something like that and to denigrate yourself and just to put yourself you know, and to think that it's a way to be virtuous, you know. I mean, it truly, and it goes with every race, but to give it a name, the white guilt thing is just, it's the most cringe thing to watch, dude. I mean, it's cuckold porn.
100%.
You know what I mean? It's
my
straight
thoughts,
cuck porn, dude. It's brutal. So, not my deal. You
Funny
know,
as
but
fuck. This has been a blast, bro. I said that's funny as fuck.
oh yeah, dude. I appreciate you guys having me on and let me ramble.
We'd love to have you back on too.
Yeah, see, we do good with no plan. We just shoot from the hip sometimes. It works out.
Right on, dude. You know, if you're comfortable with it. If you know, next time I'll load up some charts on the.
Oh, we could get more specific next time, but this was great.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll break out the flat Earth map.
Let's go. Are you a flat earther? Closing question.
I'm gonna say yeah. I tried to debunk it, and I keep coming up with everything all comes from the same source when it comes to the globe Earth. But you look everywhere else, there's stuff from all over that says the other. So, you know, one thing I flat Earth and all that stuff where I really have concern or curiosity with is Antarctica. I think there's something down there that is life changing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Do you think Antarctica is an ice wall, or do you think it's in the center?
I think it's an ice wall. I think we're in a lake. I think we're in a well, I don't want to say I think we're in a lake, but it makes sense when you look at it, and when you look at like that map that shows you all the different lands, all the different things. And what's funny too is when you look at all that shit, there's a Mars, there's a Jupiter, there's all this different stuff that's supposedly outside of Hyperborea or whatever we're at, this type thing. I don't doubt it. You know, there was a time when there's people who were actually able to explore. We can't go down there.
No.
And you know, sure as fuck it isn't for our safety.
Right.
Right. I can go buy a pack of
You know
cigarettes
what I mean?
right
Like,
now.
You know what I mean? They're like, oh no, it's not safe for you. Oh really? You're concerned about my safety? Okay.
What a joke.
But man, but I you know, there's so much you know, I like the hollow earth. The flat earth tends to make more sense to me when you look at it. I mean, just look at flights, you look at flight patterns, you look at, you know, it goes flat earth map. And when you look at it, like all the way they have all the fiber optic cables for our internet connection and stuff like that, they tell us it's from satellites and shit, but it's all cables that run under the ocean. And then on a globe, you'd have to have these long ones going all over, but on a flat earth map, they're bing, right there, you know. So I don't know. I've had people disown me for just questioning it when I was
right,
questioning it. Now I'm just like, well, if that's the way you act about it, then if that's your reaction, your gut reaction, instead of being curious, then makes me think that I'm doing the right thing. But
Definitely. We could go flat earth deep dive. We've yet to do one on this channel in depth, so something we could definitely do in the future.
Oh, I'm still a novice, I'm not on that Eddie Bravo level, but
well, we would love to get him.
Yeah, that dude knows a lot. What's crazy too? It blows my mind, man, on how much these guys like him and Sam and just other dudes, how much information that they know and they process and they're able to absorb and where they get it and stuff, and at the same time, still run their lives, run their businesses, create. I mean, fuck, man. I got a family of 3 and I'm doing my thing, and I try to put every ounce into creativity and learning and shit. Scroll.
Yeah. It gets harder when you get older too,
Yeah, man. I mean, shit, you got to learn so much. I'm surprised I got this rig up and going for this. No, now it's all plug and play. But guys, I just want to say thank you. This was great. I hope to be on again soon.
Absolutely. Had a blast. Thank you for coming, bro.
You bet. I was gonna say, if I can give my handles, if any of you guys,
where can everybody find you? Yeah.
At Trez Mala on Instagram, and I'm under Trevor Trez Mala on Facebook, or you can find me on ThinkStopper, one word, ThinkStopper, on Facebook as well. But yeah, those are just my handles right there. If anybody wants to find me, follow me. I'm always talking shit.
Definitely be sure to check that out. And thanks again, brother.
You bet, guys. I appreciate it. And keep up the good work too, man, because the more conversations that are out there, the more times people's brains start working.
100%.
Yeah, thanks, man. Take it easy.
All right, guys. Thank you. Peace.
Trez Mala. That was fun, dude.
Epic episode. Shout out to Mike Davis for setting that one up. And again, sometimes we just riff on an episode and then it's one of our best ones.
Yeah, Sam Tripoli friend too. So
should have mentioned to try and have him negotiate for us, since we're getting blue balled.
Something when he said you guys know Sam Tripoli, I was like,
Sam's the hot girl of the conspiracy community, so we gotta keep trying, I guess.
Yeah, it's like him and Eddie are the prom king and queen, or 2 prom kings. So,
I would love to get Eddie.
Oh yeah, that would be, dude. That'd be like a fucking 3.5 hour episode. That'd be fun. We could talk about everything, all of our favorite shit. Yeah. So some of the things that came up that I wanted to talk about was something I've been thinking about for a while now, and you said it, and it kind of triggered the thought again. But I wanted to wait until it was just our post like we're doing now. When you mentioned you Googled cabbage, or you Googled to see what plant was closest to human, and it happened to be cabbage. Got me thinking, like, when people say, "Oh, I Googled it," so we just assume that's the truth, right? But who's controlling Google? Like, those people that's putting that information out there, right? And those companies are generally companies that don't align with our beliefs. So it's like,
true.
So it just got me thinking to, like, why do we accept that? How come that's like an argument ender. Like, it used to be like Mythbusters was an argument ender. Like when you were talking, I saw the Mythbusters, bro. It's like, okay, can't argue it. It's like same thing with Google now. It's like, dude, I Googled it, Google it. And then you'll be like, oh yeah, he's right. It says it right here.
And but it's like, it could all be compromised as well.
Just got me thinking that, but maybe that's just me being a little bit too,
No, it's good. You're right. It's definitely not a magic fucking ball when the info is given by someone.
And then again, that can play right into the whole grand psyop, because it's like, that's what they want us to think. They want us to think that we have all this information at the tip of our fingers. But what if it's not real information? Then it's useless. Then we're just getting dumbed down.
I mean, very well could be.
But who knows? That's just a thought I had. I have a lot of dumb thoughts.
No, I wouldn't say that's a dumb one.
But yeah. It was fun. I like that he's a comedian and he's into it. That's it's, like I said, that's something I've always had a fond spot for in my heart. He seems like a good dude too. I was gonna
Definitely.
next time we have him on, I'll ask him too, because me and my wife, we go to Vegas every April. So I'll be like, hey bro, I'll be out there in April. We should go grab a drink or something, you know?
That'd be sick.
Yeah. Yeah, he seems like he'd be a fun guy to hang out with and just fucking, go all crazy with some shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No doubt. Go see a set or something. Go see one of his fucking shows, Definitely.
A set, you say? Well, in Vegas, there's plenty of sets.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. A lot of sets. Most of them are fake. But
yeah, not my thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't feel the same. Definitely don't feel the same. Whoa, what else, dude? Flat Earth. I mean, he hit a lot of things. He hit a lot of shit. Bro, his witch. Dude, the witch story. Okay.
That was crazy.
I think we saw the same witch. like the way he explained her, dude. I was going to say, too, before he said with the fingers, I was going to say, did she have, long, gnarled fingers? And when he said, yeah, they're, long, wood. And I was like, oh, my God, dude. What if there's, one witch that, that fucks with people?
You saw the same witch.
Bro, I'm telling you, from the way that, dude, she had a nose like mine, bro. Big old hook nose, bro. Big old like a Jew nose. I'm not Jewish, but
It's your Scottish.
Yeah, 100%.
Scottish Israelite.
I have 1% or 2% Levant, so it's my Levant, and which is like Syria now, modern day Syria, and Scotland, yeah. And my teeth, I blame on my English because my teeth are off, and meth, and my heroin use, that didn't help. And that's another thing too. I wanted to bring up, but I didn't get it. I didn't get an opportunity to, but I'll bring it up here. Is when he said, when he was 2 and he drowned.
Yeah.
And he felt like a kind of layer was removed. A layer was removed from his top. And I'm thinking, and it's like, okay, because my evolution in terms of my thinking, my whole thought process, and especially with the alternative thinking, right, has evolved through my whole life, especially my adulthood, 44 in 2 weeks. So it's changed a lot. However, I wonder, if every time my 5 overdoses, I wonder if every time
later removed,
right? Because it seems like as I've gotten older, my mind has opened more. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's just
our guest Shane was talking about at his insider times, they train kids from a young age, and sometimes kids that are ritually traumatized and shit like that, they make the perfect ones because something in their wiring got messed up to where they could perceive these types of things that most people normally don't.
Who said that?
Shane Sidor.
We need to have fucking Shane back on.
Yeah, for real.
For sure. The Illuminati insider, bro.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Those are some that was a wild talk. Yeah.
I'll message him.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one. I mean, they're all fun.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, what else, dude?
Trump, as always, a polarizing figure.
Yeah, so he is on board with Trump being the guy that's going to save the country. 100% he is. Right? I mean, that's what it seemed like.
It seems like he's a little bit where I am and a little bit buying into the Trump.
Seems like he's 90% Trump's the guy, and maybe 10% it could be bullshit.
All I know is he's going to be a polarizing and prevalent figure for good or for bad, and I'm just tending to think he's just playing his role.
I really think Kennedy is the move. I don't think he's going to get elected. However, that's who I'm voting for, and this is the first time I've ever voted too. When he brought up Civil War, I really think that's our only chance. I really believe that, because as we record this today, Kamala picked her VP, and he just so happens to be a socialist, the governor of Minnesota, who watched his city fucking burn. He also was pro-sterilization and mutilation of children. Their ticket, the Democratic ticket, is the furthest left ticket ever. I'm terrified that if they do win, which I think they're going to now.
No.
I do.
No, I think propping up Trump to win.
I'd rather see that, but as I'm watching this play out, 6 months ago, her own party was afraid. They didn't even want her talking. They knew how terrible she was. She was not anything. She was terrible. And now the way that they flipped on her and they're pushing her to be the savior, and everybody's jumped on board, dude. And I don't know, man. It really scares me. because they're like rallying around her big time, dude. And I really feel like if they get into office, I don't think we're gonna have a country in 4 years. You know, they're both so pro open borders. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's scary, dude. It's scary.
Yeah, we'll see what the script writers got in store.
The script writers. Nice. Yeah, there definitely is a script writer. Several script writers. Do you think it's like it is in the movies where like someone brings a script and like whoever the fuck the director reads it and there's like, no, dude, you got to change this part. Like change that part. This is good. I like this, but like fucking.
There might be some of that, but I think they're taking commands from like some ancient AI entity or some shit.
Dude, wouldn't that be something if there is like an ancient AI entity?
Fuck, I swear.
I mean, it's inevitable that we live in a simulation, right?
Someone created it already, probably.
Elon Musk explained it, and he explained it pretty well, because I always thought the simulation theory was like fucking retarded. But the way he explained it was basically what people do is people make things better. We create, we innovate, right? So, and we do it at a pretty decent rate. But let's just say let's say humanity only created and innovated at a 0.01%. So a fraction of 1%, okay? Which we do it much quicker, but we're just doing that for argument's sake. Now, given the scope of time, the Earth's been around for 4.5 billion years. People like us have been around for maybe 250,000, I'm being generous. Now, given that scope, it's inevitable that we're going to get to a point where reality is indistinguishable from a simulation.
So the chances are that that's already happened.
100%.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy to think about. You know what I mean? Crazy. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it kind of does make sense because things are just too perfect. Like, there's just some things, dude, that are way too perfect. And I don't know about you, but ever since I was a little kid, I always felt like okay, I'm going to say the word because I can't think of a better word, but I don't want it to come off like I have this ego or anything because it's the farthest thing from it. But I always felt like I was special. And what I mean is, like, I always feel like I was destined to, I don't know what, but I always felt like I don't know. And I now as I'm older, I kind of feel like, oh, that's just maybe part of the programming from the simulation. Like, I don't know.
I could say I feel the same.
Isn't that weird? But not everybody feels like that, though. Not everybody has.
Just got main character syndrome.
Dude, well, I'm a Leo, so fucking, it's natural for me, you know? But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, totally. Here's another thing, dude. When I was young, I felt like everybody that was in my life, like friends that would come from school and stuff, I felt like they didn't really exist only when they were around me. I felt like when they went away, their life just was on pause and it didn't like exist until I was around them. And then like these people are basically just put here as NPCs for me. I felt like that when I was young. Isn't that weird?
That's a popular trope in like, I don't know, sci-fi or woo-woo consciousness type of things. Could be possible, yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm talking about like early 90s. I felt like that. It's fucking weird, dude. I don't feel like that anymore, but I did when I was younger. You always keep your fucking sides of your mohawk fucking clean, dude. Like, what do you shave it every day or every other day?
No, I just try to get it like every week or something.
You don't do it yourself?
I do it mostly myself, and I'll have my dad or my roommate or someone get the little edges that I'm too afraid to like clip it all off, you know?
Right. I have my wife do too, because I do the side and the back also, and I'll have her like, I'll try to do my back the best I can, but you know, you'll miss a couple spots here and there, so yeah, I'll have her kind of clean it up and shit for me. Dude, I've been cutting my own hair since 7th grade, dude, with a fucking buzzer.
Same, pretty much.
I mean, I'll still go to the barber occasionally. I haven't for like 5 months because I've been unemployed, and why, you know? But yeah,
beard's looking good.
It is actually. It's growing in pretty decent. I got a lot of gray. I just shaved, so you can see like but yeah, it is. I got a lot of gray in the motherfucker, but it's to be expected.
Nice.
I'm old, so it's to be expected. Yeah, you know, like I don't want to. I have the interview tomorrow, right? So it's like I shaved yesterday because if I shaved like too soon, I'll fucking break out. You know what I mean? Like a little rash and shit. I'm hoping it goes well, dude. But hopefully this time tomorrow, I should hopefully know something because 4:15 is the interview. I think it'll go well, though. It's my second one, and they asked for references. I gave them to them. It'll be tough, dude, because Monday and Tuesday I'll be working 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
It's kind of gay, but you gotta do what you gotta do for now.
I like that though, because what I'm going to be doing, dude, that's going to be like the best time to do it. Like people are going to be calling in like, I want to kill myself. It's like, all right, bro, put the radio edit. No, I'm just kidding. but yeah, well, so Monday, Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Then I'm off every Wednesday, every Thursday, every other Friday. But the Friday shift isn't 12 hours. It's only 8 hours. And then Saturday. So I'm off every Sunday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, and every other Friday. I work 3 days a week.
Pretty sweet.
And then, right? So, and the night differential.
It's going to be a good job for you.
Dude, it'd be perfect because after a year I'll be certified. I could take it anywhere else, you know? And
yeah, you got this.
I think so. I think he'll do well as long as I don't fucking go into that interview and fucking just drop a bomb, you know? Like as long as I... It's nice because at a job like that, like I've already told him, like, yeah, I was a heroin addict for 15 years, but like that's like an asset in this kind of a job.
This job, yeah.
So it's like, and that's what's nice. I don't have to, because I'm too old, bro. Like I can't be something I'm not. Like I never could. But now it's like to the point where it's repulsive. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you know, like the heart tattoo. Fucking, I was just at Portillo's with me, my wife, and my kids, and the girl's like, "Oh, that's cool." Like at the counter, she's like, "Oh, that's cool. What are the hearts? Why only 4?" And I'm like, I take a deep breath, and I'm like, "Well, used to be here." You know, I go through the whole thing, and then people's reactions, just like, "Dude, like, why are you sharing this with me?" Well, you shouldn't have asked. you know. I liked the hat, by the way. To remember the name. We didn't even talk about that.
It was hype, bro.
Bro, he dominated. He did exactly what he said he was going to do.
Killed him.
He made it look so easy.
Kind of surreal still.
And then, okay, so real quick before I let you go. So you saw Dana White post-fight.
Yeah.
Was all like shitting on Bilal, right?
And now he's like, oh, that was the most viewed belt rap ever.
Right, 22 million views. Yeah, I'm like, there's the flip. And that's all he needed to see was that he could draw, you know?
How many Muslims are in the world? Shit ton.
Right. And you know what doesn't make sense to me? What is the difference between Bilal style and GSP?
Not a whole lot. I mean, GSP would move around and throw some karate Superman punches. And
he had a better jab. Arguably, maybe not anymore.
Bilal's jab was looking good.
I was saying maybe not even anymore. You know, but yeah, he threw some head kicks. Other than that, their game was the same, dude. I'm gonna beat you with my wrestling, and I'm gonna beat you up. You know,
yeah. And people hated on George at the time, and then over time they respected him. So Bilal will get his. He put his name in the history book, so that's legendary.
When Randy Couture did it, it was dominance. You know what I mean? Come on. I don't like that shit. Don't play fucking favorites.
It's just a meme to hate Bilal.
It's really what it is. But you know what? I think he's going to go on and there's a lot of tough guys like Umar Nurmagomedov. There's a lot of tough guys. I think he's going to go on like a 5-6 title defense streak, dude. I think he's going to really cement himself, dude, which is awesome.
I think so, and I hope so.
Yeah. All right, bro. Well, stay away from pedophiles.